Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Untracing Trauma. I know that we've been off for like 2 weeks, maybe more. Sorry. Thank you for being with me and coming back now that we are here. Today we have a new guest. We have Paul Z, and we're going to be going over kind of just, what we usually do, his story, where he's been, where he is now. And we are going to have this as a live stream later. But for anyone who is listening to the audio version, please go ahead and make sure to follow, rate, do all that thing, whatever other people say, do all those things. You know the drill by now, hopefully. And yeah, if you ever have any questions, go ahead and send me an email, JeGaysus@gmail.com. And with all of that said, we'll go ahead and just jump right into the episode. Welcome, Paul. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you, JeGaysus. I appreciate you being so warm and welcoming and inviting me here today. I really appreciate this time, and it's probably easier to introduce myself by introducing first my grandfather.
Okay.
My grandfather lived in Indiana, and he had 9 children with his first wife. Somehow his wife passed away when the last child was very small,
Hmm.
and he out of those children, he had to have an auction, and he sold everything, and he gave the children away except for one, and he took those children to Montana and had 10 more children by the next wife,
Wow.
of which my father was number 6. So just think of the trauma of all the children that were given away. And in my lifetime, I had a chance to talk to one of those children, and it was just one of the youngest of the children. He was 4 years old at the time, and it
Hmm.
was absolutely traumatic for him. And so we're talking about trauma, and we're talking about those type of things. It's like when you were in the lunch line when you're a little kid, somebody slugged you in the shoulder and say, "Pass it on." That was kind of like that trauma.
Yeah.
And so it's just passed on. So that grandfather of mine passed away when my father was 10 years old.
Oh,
And
wow.
so just
There's a
hardship.
lot of families growing up without a father there.
So a lot of hardship, a lot of things going on there, and it just kind of snowballs.
If you
So
don't mind me interrupting for a second, what year would have this been? Like when the first, let's say, set of children were born, was this how long ago?
so in the late 1800s or early 1900s.
Wow, okay. I was
So
thinking like Depression era, but that's even further. Wow.
yeah, I'm old. Sorry.
No, you're not. You're fine.
So
Okay. Go on, sorry.
so anyway, my father was born in 1922. So
Mm,
you're absolutely right that the Depression, 1932, right
hmm.
in the heat of the Depression, is when his father, my grandfather, passed away,
Wow, okay.
and that had to be horrible for him, for his mother, just a lot of stress. Like I say, he was number 6 of 10 children, and his mother was a school teacher. And I remember her, she really lived up to her name. Her name is Grace. Grace
Mm,
Almy was her name. And Grace just was just the kindest, most beautiful person ever. I grew up in Great Falls, Montana. And when we would go visit them in eastern Montana, Glendive was the town I was born in. We'd go visit them in eastern Montana. And I remember climbing the stairs up to see Grandma Grace. I loved going to see Grandma Grace. Absolutely. She was a delight. I mean, she
yeah.
was a school teacher. She liked children, and I liked her. I mean, I could tell when someone likes you, you gravitate toward that. You want to move toward that.
Sure.
To go 350 miles the other way to Spokane, Washington with my mother's mother, it was a totally different story.
Mm.
And she was just crotchety, and I remember her being crotchety and yelling and screaming, and just not a fun trip to go to see my mother's mother.
And
Just
it's amazing that on Grace's side, she's been through all this, like you said, trauma,
right.
losing her husband in the middle of a depression when everything is already bad economically, and now you have 10 kids to raise without quote unquote sole breadwinner, even if she was working, I'm sure women weren't paid I mean, teachers now aren't paid enough to take care of a family. So even having all these hurdles and her still being able to be warm and lovely and kind, I think that right there is a testament to her character for sure.
So with that, there's a strictness that comes with that. If there's 10 children in a family, I had 8 with my first wife myself.
Wow.
So, and I'm number
It's
10
in the
of 11.
genes.
It is. I'm number 10 of 11, and I'm the tithing child, so to speak. So,
Oh.
so with all that, there comes a time where you've got to kind of corral them. You've got to keep your thumbs on them, and know what they're doing at all times, and
Hmm.
it can border on a lot of control. It can border on abuse, and it really became more
Yeah.
abusive. My father turned to drinking and smoking and that sort of thing, and those things that that was his date. He would take my mother, bless his heart. I love him for this, for the example he was. He every Friday night took my mother out to on a date, but
Oh
the
wow.
place was always the same. It was always the Maverick Bar, and it was always, they'd come home after that. And what would happen there, I'm imagining, I was never there at the time, but what I'm imagining happened is my he was a truck driver, so he wasn't come didn't come home until Friday night.
Oh,
So
okay.
it was all the disgorging of everything that happened through the week. My mother just spilling out, spilling out, spilling out, as many people do. They're
Hmm.
just letting you know how their day went or how their week went,
Sure.
and depending on how my mother viewed what we did and things we did, sometimes my father just got angry, got the horns
Mm.
on the head, he's just not going to be happy. So he comes home and then we get our beating and then it just and that was the weekend. And then Sunday comes
Ouch.
around and the one of the nicest and another very nice thing about my father is that he always cooked Sunday dinner. While my mother and I and all the siblings were at church, we'd come home and we'd have a very nice Sunday dinner. He was very good at it. It was
Hmm.
always baked chicken into potatoes and then a vegetable of something, but it was always that baked chicken. He was really, really good at baking chicken, and I just remember that, and it's just kind of a funny thing. He'd always listen to the radio in the morning. Had a country radio station they'd listen to, and it's talked about family memories. This is the way to build memories, and I'm not sure. The country music is wonderful all by itself. I love the stories that they tell, and you have these experiences in your life that could be a country song.
That's true.
That whole thing I just told you could be a country song.
Very true.
Absolutely. I mean, who would have thought of anything like that? I mean, you can't even dream up stuff like that. Who
That
would?
is, yeah, no, that is a lot of past history, especially if you like you said, put it in forms of a country song and going through family lineage. I could definitely see that being a narrative, that would be told, like going all the way back to the 1800s. Um, it's
So,
like it's Americana, even with a sad tinge of like the Depression era and trauma, like you're saying. I want to go back to, so you said that you were raised in church then. So you and the family, your mom and all the other 10 kids would go to church every Sunday. What, if you don't mind me asking, denomination were you raised in back in Montana?
we belong to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Okay, interesting. Very interesting. That, I guess, would explain some of, I was going to ask, in terms of the family size, if there were any ties to the church, because I know, especially in some of the evangelical sects, there's the whole quiverful movement, which is, have as many kids as possible until you
Right.
can't. And but that would also be part of LDS doctrine to have
Mhm.
a large family, right?
Well,
So
it's not.
that
There is no doctrine, and
okay.
there's no. If you get 13, you get to the highest kingdom. There's nothing like that.
Well, yeah, I didn't mean in terms of leveling up, but I just know from
Because
at least in California, the Mormon churches pushed really really hard to make sure to have as many kids as you could. All my friends growing up, I had a lot of LDS friends, and they were all from families of 10 plus because they had kind of the same quiverful mindset, even if it wasn't demanded of them. They still, saw big families as a blessing and as I guess, doing the best they could with the parts they were given, if you want to say that.
Yeah, like I said, there's absolutely no doctrine. It's never taught across the pulpit. It's
Hmm.
never taught to. The only thing that is taught is to multiply and replenish the earth, which is taught in the Bible. It's taught in any
Yeah.
denomination. Those are biblical words. Just
Yeah.
multiply and replenish the earth. And so we take that to heart. I mean, it's just, why not? Especially, J- JeGaysus, if you find something that you like, just keep doing it.
I mean, yeah, if you like being a parent, hey, more
Yeah.
power to you. I couldn't do it. I don't think I could raise one kid, let alone 10. Oh my God, it sounds like my nightmare. But to anybody who has the virility and the patience to do that, God bless them, because I don't.
No, and I understand that, and not everybody's built that way, but it just is just a really good indication that we felt that way. We liked large families. I think it's probably more generational than anything else,
Yeah,
because my mother was a convert to the church. My father never joined the church, and
really.
so really it didn't come from his family, except they had large families. They
Hmm.
weren't Catholic. They weren't particular any religion. I've done the genealogical research so that I understood these stories that and what great hardship they had, what trauma they had in their own life, and
Sure.
how did they hold it back? How did they
Hmm.
how did they let go of that, or what ways did they use that as a springboard to do better things in their own life? And as far as that
And you were
goes,
able to find that just by tracing back like your family tree and like seeing what they did, or did you have like diaries or anything passed down?
well,
How did
yeah.
you learn this?
So tracing the family tree is like the bones. That's it.
Hmm.
I mean, it's like bare bones. Then the stories, the obituaries, and the family stories, and you start putting meat to the bones, and really it comes to life. These are real people back there, real people that are real problems that
Yeah.
we have no idea how hard that might have been. I mean, if you had, there wasn't a government backup, if you didn't have any food on the table, uh, that it was on you, that
Yeah.
you would be starving. Just if you think about this, in the late 1700s, when the Declaration of Independence was done, 90% of the people were self-employed. Only 10% worked for somebody else.
Hmm. Hmm.
We're at the very opposite of that right now.
Yeah.
10% are self-employed, 90% of them work for somebody else.
No, it's a really good point, especially because I mean, obviously we have dark history of slavery. Removing that aspect of it, the people who were considered citizens would still have been the homesteaders, the people who had to be self-reliant.
Mhm.
That's definitely true. I so I find it interesting. Your dad never joined the church, but your mother converted. Do you know that story? Do you know what led her specifically to go to Latter-day Saints?
I think that just she had two missionaries, two sister missionaries that knocked on her door in Glendive, Montana. Glendive is just like it sounds. It's uh, Glenn didn't like that place, so he just called it a dive. Glendive. It's like that. You go there today, it's just like that.
Sure.
It lives up to its name.
I feel
And
like that might be representative of a lot of places in Montana, though. It's very sparse pickings.
well, no, that's just eastern Montana. Western
Okay.
Montana is absolutely gorgeous. And southern um, south central and southeastern Montana are absolutely gorgeous. You've got the
Okay.
Bighorn Mountains in the south. You've got Yellowstone Park in the south. You've got Bozeman, Butte, Helena, Missoula. You've got a very nice place. A lot of nice places in Montana. This wasn't one of them.
My uncle lives in Billings, and I've never been, so maybe I'll check it
No,
out
you need to check
someday.
that out. So the ride to Billings, if you're driving, the ride to Billings is it's beautiful. If you're coming up from
Hmm.
the south, you go through the Bighorn Mountains, from Wyoming, and it's just the Custer's last battlefield. It's just beautiful. This wasn't one of those places. It just wasn't.
Okay. So here you are in Glendive, and then two missionaries showed up to your mother's door and they were able to talk. I mean, this is interesting, particularly just because again, I work with a lot of people who have deconstructed from religion, and especially people who were either missionaries in their past or were planning on being missionaries before they left the church. And it's almost like a running joke we have within the deconstruction community that door knockers never work. But so it's interesting. Here I am talking to somebody where a door knock worked.
It actually did, and so my brother was 9 years old. Also, my oldest brother, surviving brother. So the first three children that my mother had passed away. The
Oh
first one
no.
just lived a day. The second one lived a year and a half and then drowned, and the third one died in a crib death. So my older
Jeez.
brother is all I know. I just knew him as my older brother. And then I had subsequently I had another brother that was 24 that drowned in the Columbia River. So there's really, and
Wow.
then that older brother passed away. So five out of the 11 are gone. So there's
I'm
only
sorry to hear that.
six
That's
of us left.
rough.
But anyway, that was rough for my mother. I mean, it was
Oh,
just
I bet.
really rough. So the whole teaching that excited my mother is that the teaching that they would be able to see those, she would be able to see those children again
Mm-hmm.
in the afterlife, and that just that holding on to that possibility, even if it's not true,
Yeah.
she held on to the possibility it was true,
Mm-hmm.
that it would happen, and it gave her hope.
Mm-hmm.
Anything, Jesus, anything that we do in life that gives people hope, I think is something good. It's something to hold on to, something to pass on, something to encourage one another, something to uplift one another, and something to
100% agree.
help your
Mm-hmm.
brother on their way. Just help them in any way. So this was one of those things.
I
So
think that's an important key note to, especially anyone who's left the church, anyone who may have been hurt by the church and have past trauma recovering. There's a tendency, and often it comes from a place of hurt, and I understand it, to want to judge others who are still in the church or are still religious. And I think it's important, especially as a message to the deconstruction community, to remember exactly what you just said. For somebody who needs hope, for somebody who needs a belief to make their life bearable, like whatever it may be, is I might it's hard. I was trying to make it sound a little more less dire, but especially in a situation like that where you lost five kids, it's only natural to want to have answers for what happened, why it happened, what the future is going to look like. And the most natural response is to find something where you can look at it and be positive and have um,
to be able to move past it.
something to
Yeah,
build. Yeah,
yeah.
something to really structure your life around. And I think that anybody from the outside looking in needs to remember that obviously everyone has different stories, but that shouldn't be part of your judgment towards a person. Like the belief or the necessary hope that somebody finds, or the comfort that they find in grieving, in death, in heaven, any of those things isn't something that you should hold against them. It's something you should be, like you said, supporting. It's something
Hmm.
you should be encouraging. Anything that makes somebody a better person, you should encourage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other day I was riding my bike, and I found this stick, and I'm going to show you this stick. So on this stick, you can see the stick. This is a really very nice part of the stick. The stick didn't have any bark on it when I found the stick, but it's just this is the nice side of the stick. The other side of the stick, you can see it's got some just blemishes on there.
Sure. Got
We're
some
gonna call
knots.
we're gonna call that the naughty side of the stick. So this to Jesus, to Jesus
It's
is
okay.
my
I trip over it too.
is my naughty and nice stick.
Okay.
So things that, and if you use a stick as a measuring, it's kind of like a spectrum. It's kind of the naughty and nice spectrum. It has
Hmm. Hmm.
nothing to do with Santa Claus, but it's just kind of the naughty and nice spectrum. That on the naughty side is criticism or judgment or prejudice or name calling or just anything like that would be considered, I would consider that on the naughty side of the stick.
Hmm.
The nice side of the stick is more the loving, the kindness, the encouragement, the uplifting that we're talking about right now. That's on the nice side of the stick. So I found myself, after being raised like explained to you,
Hmm.
found myself that I, I I was more on the naughty side of the stick, and because I was trained like that. As a
Yeah.
child, you're trained like whatever your parents are going to do, that's what you're going
Hmm.
to do. I didn't know that, and I
Yeah.
denied it for a long time until about 15 years ago, I was dating, and it was getting serious, and it was time to take this girl, lady I was dating, up to Big Brother for Big Brother approval, introduce her, and just meet the family.
Yeah.
And so the first thing that happened when I did this, JeGaysus, is that my sister-in-law pulled her aside, and within earshot, I could hear,
Hmm.
said that only emotion that the Zolman family learned growing up was anger. At first, I
Mm.
denied it, and it made me mad. And I thought, huh. So that was when I had the realization that I still had those flashes. I still,
Sure.
without ever thinking about, you just have these knee-jerk reactions of
Hmm.
what happened when you were young. That
Yeah,
thing.
especially coming from abuse like you did, the imprint that was on you was sort of that aggression. It was that anger. It was what you saw your father respond with instead of maybe, appropriate ways of sitting down and talking through emotions. You also saw him display that. So that, of course, that's what you kind of absorbed growing up.
Exactly. So when you're raised in that type of environment, you're also raised with the vocabulary of that environment. You're raised with the habits of that type of environment. So the
Hmm.
prejudice and the name calling and the hitting in the shoulder. And I remember one time my brother, one of my older brothers, not this one that I was talking to, one of my older brothers had me lay down on the boulevard, what's what we called the grass area between the sidewalk and the curb of the street, lay
Okay.
down on the boulevard, and he'd just see if he could ride his motorcycle over me, right across my chest.
What?
Dutifully, like a dutiful, stupid younger brother, I did it, and it didn't hurt, but I just remember my back cracking a little bit, and
Well, that's
it's
the
like
least that could happen, but okay.
a reverse chiropractor. It's just
Yeah.
cracked the wrong way. So I had to
Eh.
go to the chiropractor, get it cracked back the right way. But it's just those type of things. You don't even think of that. It's a bad thing. So
Sure.
all growing up, you think it's normal, and you think that whacking and all that stuff is normal. So of course, when I take the test of Dr. Gary Chapman and
Hmm.
the five love languages, you take
Oh,
that survey test, and you find out what your love language is. Of course, I'm physical touch. I thought that was love as a
okay.
child.
Yeah.
All the whacking, if I wasn't being whacked, I wasn't getting loved. And it was
Yep.
just that sort of thing. So you're kind of in that little bubble on that naughty side of the stick. And
Hmm.
and until that moment that my sister-in-law said that to my fiance, I did not realize I was there on that part of the stick. Until you realize where you're at and you can look one way and see what's that way and look the other way and see what's that way, you don't know which way you're going to go.
Absolutely.
You've got three options. You can stay
Hmm.
put, you can go to the left, go to the right, become more naughty, or try to be nice.
Yeah.
And so I determined, if that's the perception that was out there about my family, I have an opportunity to change that, and I took that option.
Good.
I started reading the five love languages and the color code as well, the five love languages, and I read the five love languages 4 or 5 times. JeGaysus, I can tell you right now, I did not get it. I don't,
Really?
I don't
Okay.
know, I don't know if anybody else gets it, but I was thinking, you mean, Dr. Chapman, you mean I'm supposed to guess what your love language is and then cater to that, and you're calling that love? I said, I grew up in an abusive family. I know
Yeah.
that's not love,
Mm.
but this doesn't sound like love either.
Mm.
Okay, so I
Okay.
thought, huh, all right, well, let me take the survey. Well, I
Sure.
take the survey, and it says I'm gifts. Hello, JeGaysus, I'm gifts. What do you have for me today? I mean, that's love. That's more duty bound, and
Mm.
it's more obligatory. That it really is not love either. Then you get to the point that I'm sure this was totally unintended. That, well, I told you how to love me because I
Mm.
took the survey. I told you how to love me, and you're not doing it. Why aren't you doing it?
Yeah. And as you
Well,
know, surveys are literally the only way to find out your personality. And it's the only. Obviously, it may be a stepping point, but it's not comprehensive.
so so that what are you supposed to do after you take the survey? Advertise? I mean, just really,
Yes.
how are you supposed
You
to?
put your love language on a shirt and just wear that shirt every day.
That's an idea. Never thought of that. So by doing that, that just didn't work for me. I just couldn't get it. I couldn't bring it inside. So
Hmm.
everything that Dr. Chapman to me was talking about was outside of me, totally out of my control.
Yeah.
Nothing I could do about it. And even if I did something about it, I'm sure it would be wrong. It was, it's just that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I thought, I liked games as a kid, and what if I made it a game? So
Okay.
I contacted Dr. Chapman and said, would you license those icons to me for the different love languages? His team said no because they just
Oh,
weren't doing that at the time.
sure.
So I talked to a intellectual property attorney here in my town, and that attorney said that theory is not copyrightable. Application is.
Right.
So
Okay.
they weren't doing it as a game. So I created my own icons,
Hmm.
made it into a game. And it's
Really?
what it is. It's a dice. So
Okay.
I created these icons for the love languages. You can tell that's touch.
Touch.
Oh, you got. Oh, there we go. Oops. There you go. Service.
Yeah.
These are the words.
That
There's
is so cool.
there's
That's
time.
like a genius idea, though.
There's time.
Mm-hmm.
There's the gifts. So
Mm-hmm.
five love languages, six sides on the dice. This one has surprised me. So that's for the day. When you roll that on that day, it's for random acts of kindness.
Oh.
There's just two instructions. You roll the die every day.
Mm-hmm.
That's the love language you practice all day that day.
Wow.
All day.
Okay.
It's no
I like
longer I
that.
did the dishes. I'm done. It's
Yeah.
nothing like that anymore. It's not an event. It's a process. It's a mindset. That
Sure.
so the mindset.
It's taking yourself out and stepping back for a second to really look at the situations you're presented or look at the conversations you're having. And instead of using your first reaction,
Mhm.
reminding yourself, like, wait, today I'm going to make more of an attempt to connect one on one through touch, like
Correct.
whatever the die roll is.
So
It's giving you that
yeah,
cerebral step back that you need. That's so smart.
yeah, and it is cerebral because when you look at these icons, it's all pictures. There aren't any words. If I say the word elephant, you're not seeing the letters ELEPHANT in your mind. You're seeing the
Mm-hmm.
picture of the animal.
Mm-hmm.
So it is with this. So just by looking at that, you're going to spend a little bit more time. Put the brakes on that day when you're spending more time with people. When
Yeah.
you rolled that, the whole idea though is this is something you have control over.
Mm-hmm.
Giving the love away. I didn't know that before. So I realized that giving it away is something absolutely I've got control over,
Yeah.
and trusting that eventually it'll come back is that's the whole thing. That's the whole circle.
Exactly. Exactly.
Think of it.
Spending, again, conscious effort to make sure that you are adding positive influence to the spaces around you, to the people around you, and knowing that you have the ability to do that, that you can choose to bring positivity as compared to making somebody feel bad, as
Absolutely.
compared to hurting somebody's feelings.
You'll never go there because you'll be so busy, and the mindset is this. You'll be so busy saying, what's right with that person? What can I love about that person?
Mm-hmm.
You'll never get to the point, you'll be so busy with that, I guarantee you, that you'll never get to the point and say, what's wrong with that person? Ooh.
Yeah.
And you'll go down that critical path. You will never get there. So So you'll never be on the naughty side of the stick. You're always going to be on the nice side of the stick. You're always going to be on with that loving nature. You're going to be a love starter. So
Hmm.
it's like that slug in the line, except it's a nice tap.
And it's a brain rewiring.
It is.
Sometimes, like we were saying, you were brought up in a way in which your brain was physically mapped to respond a certain way, and you have to break those connections and build new ones, new patterns, new habits, new viewpoints of the world to really readjust where you're going, especially when we're talking about topics of like generational trauma
Mhm.
and multiple generations of going through child loss and abuse and poverty, whatever it may be. It does take work, but it takes the realization first. I think that's the important part that you were talking about. Having that moment where your sister-in-law broke you out of your own head to say, like, wait, I never looked at it. I never stepped outside. Realizing there's an issue needs to happen before you can even start to fix the issue.
I think any transformation has to have that realization. You've
Yeah.
got to have that understanding of, oh, there's a problem. There's an issue.
Hmm.
There's an issue here. And then try to understand why do I have that issue, and then figure it out and figure what am I going to do about it. And I found that this I had the desire obviously to make that change, to make that break in the ancestral uh, pass it on type just break those
Yeah.
chains that were holding me back ancestrally, to make that break so that I would be able to do something different.
Hmm.
You can be a part-time, love part-time. In fact, Gary Chapman's book says, do only these love languages to significant other people. I'm saying that's hard. That is just a part-time job. So
Hmm.
if you only did it part-time, only supposed to do it when you're home, what do you do all the rest of the time?
Yeah.
So this makes it a full-time job. There is no retirement. There's no, but the pay is excellent. The
I
pay
love
really
that.
is good.
The pay is excellent.
Yeah, just think of the anger. If you make an investment in anger, guess what the payback is? It is
Yep.
immediate. You get paid back right away. Isn't
Yep.
that what you want? Why would anybody want that? It's going to come right back to you.
Right
Why,
there. Amen. Hmm.
why would you choose anger? So this for me, I thought it'd be a hard thing. It was so easy. And it was so easy to get the mindset. So
Mm.
easy. This is a replacement mindset that I didn't know that it absolutely crowd out everything else. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it affects everything around you. It affects not only everything around you, it affects everything inside you too, because it's the way you think, it's the way you perceive.
So
Sure.
so I call this the role of love.
I
And
love it.
it's not ROLL, because again that would be outside of you. It's
Hmm.
ROLE, changes you.
Because you are stepping into it as a role. I love.
You're changing yourself inside, except
Yeah.
that you roll ROLL, the die outside, so that you can have to kind of set the tone or set a theme or have a
Hmm.
divining moment for the day. This is
Hmm.
a mantra for the day. This is what I'm doing today. This is how I determine to love today. It's
It's amazing.
no more willy-nilly, no more
Yep.
come what may. I'm purposing today to do this all day.
And I think the smart part about it too is kind of, I touched on it only briefly, like a lot of the issues people have had in the past, or I haven't read the book personally, but what I've seen people raise with the Chapman approach of the five love languages is, again, pigeonholing yourself into one love language when people are so much more comprehensive than that and need so many more things, kind of like Maslow's hierarchy of
Mhm.
needs, right? It can be a guideline, but there's things that fall outside of said
Yeah,
triangle. We
yeah.
can't box any person in. And I think your approach of changing it daily and committing to being more cognizant of it is so smart, because then it allows you all these other opportunities to grow and
Mhm.
not just focus on, well, like you said, I'm going to do the dishes and vacuum, and therefore I did service, therefore I give up. Like, you get to
I'm done. Yeah.
experience your interactions with people more deeply, more honestly, because
Hmm.
you're trying to be well-rounded, if you will. I love that.
JeGaysus, you hit the nail right on the head, and I think that something else that has really come up because of this is that after doing this for a certain amount of time, you know all five love languages. Even
Hmm.
after just a short period of 30 days, you'll know how, all five love languages to give it away.
Yeah.
That really irons out that, well, I like physical touch, so I'm going to give physical touch and expect it in reciprocation. That
Hmm.
doesn't work that well. What works really well with this is that when whatever day you're on, whether it's spending time with someone or serving someone, whatever day you're on, what you're watching for is when they light up.
Yeah.
When they light up, that's what they like. Just take a mental note. You don't have to say, "Would you please take this survey so I can know how to love you?"
Here's your journal for the
I'm
next 30 days. Respond to everything I do, and
I'm
then we'll.
I'm not going to love you until you take this journal or take this survey. And it's just, yeah, it's a kind of ridiculous in a way,
Hmm.
unintended,
Hmm.
I'm sure. Dr. Chapman, love him to pieces for putting the five love languages theory together and bringing that to light.
Yes,
This,
it's a framework. It's a
yeah,
start.
the frame. This is perfect framework, but there's a better way to do it. Do it in the lane that you're in. Keep it directional. You can only give it away. After that, excuse me, after that 30 days, it has improved your vision so that
Yeah.
you can see it when it comes your way and you can respond appropriately. Say you were physical touch and they sent you time. Say you were physical touch, they sent you service. You're still going to
Hmm.
see, oh, they're loving on me. I can
Yeah.
respond. And
Right.
rather than just think, oh, I'm in this slot, I can't move out of my slot.
Hmm.
It's just like that pigeonholing. You can't, it doesn't put you in that spot that you have to stay there. In fact, I like
It's so smart.
several types. And you'll find, I found that growing up, I liked physical touch, and taking the survey, physical touch was my primary love language. It's not so anymore.
Mm.
I like the words, and I found that
Yeah.
I like giving the words away. I like just complimenting people and seeing in them the good that maybe they can't see, or
Yeah.
maybe they don't see it.
I love it. I was gonna say, how did you? I feel like we kind of answered the question, but I wanted to kind of maybe narrow it down into like words that we can pass on. But so coming from this abusive and probably I didn't ask, but probably both emotionally and physically abusive space, and then realizing that that was something that patterned you. Would you say like the way that you healed from that trauma was specifically through this practice of giving love, or was there other steps that you also had to incorporate to kind of let go of that past and let go of that pain?
I think that life's experiences teaches you whatever. The school of hard knocks is really the school of hard knocks, and you learn things from experience. But I think the experience of giving love is going to be the one of the easiest things that anybody will ever do. If they can understand how to give love and kindness, the reward for what comes back is just going to motivate them. It's going to be
Hmm.
the secret sauce, the juice that will just push them. It's going to give them the gas they need to continue forever. It really
Yeah.
it's
And like you said, there's returns on that too that make your life more pleasant,
there's no
more,
absolutely. So
yeah.
there's no expectation for
No, no.
return when you give that away, but you're trusting that it's coming back. And
Yeah.
so there,
And I think everyone knows that logically, and we just get so stuck emotionally. Our growth as a person can get so capped off when we're not really thinking or growing as an emotional, intelligent person. But logically, we know like you want to be around people who make you happy. You want to be around people who make you feel good.
Mhm.
So if you can apply that to yourself, more people will want to be around you. More people will want to help you and engage with you. And so making those changes is important to your quality of life. If you can expand your circle of love to again not be directed at just a significant other, but instead have meaningful reactions with everyone you encounter,
Mhm.
of course the payback's gonna come. Like it only makes logical sense. So now we have to just remind our emotional
Mhm.
sense to take a step back and also apply instead of react.
It's
I
so
love.
addicting to watch people light up. So addicting to help them feel the goodness that they already are, to
Hmm.
see the goodness they already are. You know what? I've got something that I use because I'm old, and it's called a magnifying glass. And
Yeah.
just look how big my eye gets when you put the magnifying glass up. When you magnify good and the good things that other people are doing, that is like watering a plant. That's
Yeah.
going to grow. It's going to become larger. Who wants to magnify the bad things? Everybody has bad things. Everybody has just faults. Everybody has
Yeah.
mistakes. Nobody's perfect. And because
Except
of,
JeGaysus.
there you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, of course. Of
So
course. And
it's
I wanted to touch too on I don't know where the religion side of this would fit in, but being raised LDS, did you continue that tradition? Is that something that you are currently part of? Is that something you raised your family with? And how do those interplay in whether it's something that you had traumatic experience with, maybe related to the church, and you decided to walk away from? Or did you find that the church was beneficial in this new chapter of your life in learning how to spread love?
just as I mentioned before, that's great, great question, by the way. Just as I mentioned before, though, the anything that would give hope to anybody is still a good thing. It's still on the
Hmm.
nice part of the stick. It's on the loving part of the stick, and the intent is there for religion in any religion, doesn't matter what it is. Any religion that would want to give you hope is a religion.
When applied correctly, there's obviously glaring issues with power struggles in empire, but
Yeah,
when applied correctly in its basic form, yes.
yeah, that's very
Yes.
unfortunate, and if you can, what I've been able to do is dissect the religion and the dogma from
Hmm.
the people. We're all,
Yeah.
and if keep that in mind, we're all imperfect. Then we've got to all have some latitude for one another. That we've got to
Hmm.
have there has to be some give and take, and if we've got that, then we can progress together and still have a hope together, a hope, a
Yeah.
like-minded hope that for what we believe. And so,
Hmm.
so I still affiliate with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I feel the mission myself. In fact, on my mission, and trying to keep that fifth commandment, which is the first commandment of the Ten Commandments with the promise. It's that to honor your father and mother, that your days might be long upon the land. And
Hmm.
so I thought, how are you going to do that? I don't know if anybody's ever thought of how do you do that? How do you honor your parents? Do you honor them by how you live your life? How do you honor them? What do you do that makes them feel proud of you or makes them feel like they're honored because you're their child? And I thought, as a missionary, it's highly suggested and highly recommended that you should write your family once a week. This was back
Okay.
this was back in the days there was no internet, there was no email,
Yeah.
it was snail mail.
Okay.
So I went to Japan, and
I was gonna ask where was the mission,
yeah,
but
so
Japan,
I
very cool.
went to Japan, and actually southern Honshu, which has the city Hiroshima. So everybody knows Hiroshima.
Mm.
And I was in Hiroshima for probably 9 months of a 2-year mission. So quite a long time for the time I was there in Japan.
I didn't know they let people go there. I thought it was still like radioactive.
Oh no, no.
Really?
In
Okay.
fact, the reparations that the United States have done have just really kind of brought Japan as an ally with the United States. They put
Yeah.
billions and billions of dollars in. When you go there, there's nothing there that's more than wasn't built before 1945 and 1946 when they were doing the
Yeah, I bet.
rebuilding. Yeah. So they've incorporated baseball. There's a baseball stadium right across the street from what they call Heiwa Koen. Heiwa Koen just means Peace Park.
Mm.
Excuse me. And so they've got they've got all that going there. It was
Yeah.
interesting that the Japanese just really really like Americans because we after we hit them with the big stick like Teddy Roosevelt was talking about, you know,
Hmm.
speak softly but carry a big stick. We hit them with the big stick. We really started speaking softly and helping them through that defeat to rebuild their country after we decimated it. And so
I was gonna say it's the very least we could do. Like,
It,
geez, yeah.
it was, and but it was a kind gesture, and we really needed to do that. But
Hmm.
in the middle of all that, we repaired the relationship and really worked to work with the Japanese, and you can see that the relationship is fabulous. They love us too, and we love them. We love the Toyota cars. We love the Nissans. We love the Mazda. We love all those vehicles, the Mitsubishis, all the vehicles that have come from Japan, and just we send them our money and as a thank you, and we love Japanese food and the sushi. Who doesn't like sushi? I mean, there are some, but
Yeah, yeah.
they're just nice things that we cooperate that way, and we just build relationships, and it just starts
Hmm.
little by little. But you set aside that trauma, whatever it is, set aside the trauma. And getting back to your question about the religion, I still think that religion has a place in society. I think that this country really was founded on the principles of belief in God,
Hmm.
and that
I would disagree with you there, but continue.
okay, okay. So
Um,
read the
well, not it's not a debate show, so we'll go into it. But I would like to hear out where you're going. So back to the founded on God. Go on.
so being founded in God, men being created equal,
Yep.
and that sort of thing. We need to have that belief, because if
Hmm.
we think we're above somebody, then you might look down on them. You might think that that's an
Right.
opportunity to look down on them. We don't have that really opportunity. I'm not your judge. You're not my judge. We leave the judgment to Jesus Christ. Really,
Yeah.
that's the judge of all. And
Hmm.
this, if we can get that mindset, this is one way. Using the die has been one way to say, that's not my call. That's not my judgment. I can't say what it's better not to say what's bad about that person if I think it's bad, because it's subjective. That's my opinion.
It's subjective.
Very
Yes.
subjective. And it could or may not be. It's not,
Hmm.
and God's the one that decides. So let's let God decide. Just
Yep.
forget it. Let God decide.
I have this discussion with people, especially on my social media channels. I'd like to say probably 10 times a day because I think there's so many people that need to adopt that mindset, or again, like we're talking about, you don't realize something and maybe they need to hear it more so that they can realize it and make a change because it is imperative. And especially within American evangelical Christianity, there is a lot of different denominations, but more so the people inside those denominations that use religion as a tool
Hmm.
to, like you said, place yourself above somebody or make that judgment to try to claim that they have the correct doctrine or worldview, whether it's between denominations or between actual people. And again, they're not God, who they're not. If their belief is somebody will ultimately decide on Judgment Day right from wrong and good from bad, that's not them. They're the ones that will be under that microscope. So wasting time and spending energy on judging other people with something that's not your job, your role, or something you don't have power to affect is a pointless way to engage with the world. It's not their position. Yeah.
Yeah, and to proclaim that someone else is going to hell because of what they're doing is that's not in your lane.
Hmm.
Stay in your lane. Your lane is and your responsibility. Everybody's responsibility. Love one another. Love one another. That's it. That's all.
Yeah.
And as you think that might be hard, it's not so hard if you focus
Hmm.
on it. But
Hmm.
if you're getting out of the lane, if you're going over and saying, "Well, what's going on over here?" If you're getting out of
Absolutely.
that lane, you're going to have a hard time. Stay focused. Stay, and this is such an easy way. How long does it take to roll a die? Really?
Like
Like
5 seconds.
2 seconds. Yeah. So this is
I think you summarized deconstruction as a movement as a whole, like really well, just in that one step. And I think it's funny because nobody really knows what deconstruction means because it's such a wide spectrum of different people talking about different things. But usually, what people mean when we talk about deconstructing from faith, religion, Christianity, I think I would consider you, even if you're not self identified, as a deconstructed LDS member because you have that realization where your personal actions and your personal relationship with your religion should supersede any kind of doctrine or dogma of people telling you hate this, hate that, us versus them, and deciding instead to let that go and let that tribalism mentality go and instead be like, no, it's all of us, whether we agree or not, and choosing love in that all of us is deconstruction
Yeah.
right there. I love
Yeah,
that.
that's a mantra that you want to choose for your life.
Yeah.
It's a happy life. It's a life that you're spreading happiness, you're spreading love. I call it a love starter. So if you want to start a fire of love, just give somebody a compliment. Serve them.
Yeah.
Give them a gift. Do something for them. Love them in one way, especially in the way that they light up. That's going to do the best thing that you can do to
Mm-hmm.
to extend that love. You'll start it, and guess what? It's just like that punch in the shoulder, pass it on. They're going to have a happier day. They're going to be,
Yep.
why are you so chipper? And then they'll pass it on. They're just going to pass it on. You want that to happen. In fact, you know what? One of my suggestions is you take a handful of these dice and you put it on a table at a wedding
Mm.
instead of the chocolates. So
Yeah.
at a loving event, you're passing it on. This,
I love that.
this is what they take home with them. So wedding planners that are listening, this is something that kind of a what they call it, just a tool, a token of appreciation. Just
Mm-hmm.
a can't think of the word. So this is what they take home with them. When they take home
Yeah.
with them, they roll the die, and then they start loving within their sphere of influence. You
Yes. Yes.
essentially propagated love from a loving event. It take
And it multiplies and it returns.
multiplies and it comes back. Take chocolate, for example. What's going to happen with chocolate at a wedding? You eat the chocolate,
Gonna eat it.
you eat the chocolate off the table. The next day, you weigh yourself. You're a pound heavier. What are you going to do? Where did that come from? And then
It's a lot of chocolate.
you'll think, oh, it came from the wedding. And then it becomes a kind of a downer event. It comes, oh, I don't want to do that. I can't go to weddings anymore. I can't eat the treats. I can't do all that. And you just start getting down on yourself. The
Sure, sure.
die,
Okay.
propagating the love from a loving event is just a better choice. Sending out the die instead of chocolate. I love chocolate.
I love that. You could do both.
You could
You
do,
could honestly include chocolate and dye, like, because then that chocolate may be the gift part of it.
yeah,
You
there you
know,
go.
that might be part of the die roll that day.
So,
No, I think that's fabulous. I do want to say that we're almost at the end here,
yeah,
just because we're trying to keep it under an hour. But we do have a few more minutes. If you would like to have any last thoughts that you want the world to know, to the listeners of the podcast to know, and if there's just like anything on your mind that you would like to talk about, this would be your time to go for that. And then we can wrap it up with how people can find you, follow you, where they can purchase the amazing die to start resetting their own day. But I just want to make sure that you have a couple minutes to speak on anything else you want to talk.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And this has been a fun time. Really, I appreciate you.
I've loved it.
Great,
Yeah.
great questions. It's been just free flowing. I appreciate that so much. There's just one thing that I'd probably encourage your listeners to do is just consider where they are on the stick. Consider
Mm.
because you can't make any improvement. You can't set any goals until you know right where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Are you on the naughty side or are you on the nice side? And are you closer to nice and maybe you just want to be 1% better today? This is a great tool to help you. You know, you have tools for gardening, you have tools for mechanics, you have tools for everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Hardly very few love tools. This is a very simple love tool. Think of it as an investment. If
Yeah.
everybody wants an investment that you put in just a very tiny bit and you get a
Hmm.
huge return. This is that investment. The 2 seconds that you take in the morning to set the tone of the day, rolling the die, is going to bring you back huge returns on that investment. There's nothing like
Love
it.
it.
Absolutely nothing like it. And just determine in your own mind to love all day long. It won't take
Hmm.
long. It really won't take long.
Hmm.
You'll see the benefits of doing that, the benefits of lighting people up all day long. I haven't even talked about, written a book. This
I was gonna ask that. That was gonna be my next question. I was gonna say, do you have a like companion book that would go along with this?
so,
There you are.
so there's the book. That book actually a couple months ago became an international bestseller. So
Oh,
it's a good
congratulations.
read. In addition to that, there's a journal. So
Oh, nice.
inside the journal, you can see that it's what you rolled that day, opportunities
Oh,
that you saw to love in that way, and then what you did about those opportunities. So
that's
people
amazing.
that are
It's like a full tool set. You don't need to just have that one tool. That's and like you were saying, we need more emotional tools, like more emotional growth tools,
absolutely
more emotional intelligence tools, more reflection tools. As a country, we are always like progressing in technology or progressing in the rat race of capitalism and money, but like we forget to also evolve and grow our emotional needs. So having more tools and bringing that to the world as your gift to the world, I think is beautiful.
thank you very much. And it's been a wonderful journey. It's been, I've just got the book. It's just printed this year, published this year. I've had to die for about 7 years, and in that 7 years, I roll it independently of my wife, and so
Hmm.
my wife likes to try to guess what's he doing today. It's
Based on your actions,
based on my actions, so it's kind of a mystique, and
that's fun.
you want mystique in your relationships, and it's just kind of
Hmm.
keep it to yourself and just have fun with it. Enjoy
I
it.
love that.
Send it.
And so, where can people find the book and find the die? Where would they go to get that?
So it's all on my website. It's called rolloflove.com. And it's, again, the changed one. ROLE
ROLE.
of love.com.
Awesome. Okay. And is there anywhere else they can follow you? Do you have social media accounts or content that you would like to make or not make, but that you do make that you would like them to find you on if they
Probably the best one is Instagram, and it's
Okay.
Roll of Love Dice on Instagram, and then on Facebook, Roll of Love Dice.
Perfect. Okay. Well, that's amazing. I've had such a good time talking with you, and I'm so glad that you were able to take what could have been, or not what could have been, what was a very traumatic situation and upbringing, and again, generational pattern, and you're able to totally 180 that and spin that into a drive to help others. And I think that that is an inspiring message that hopefully resonates with somebody else out there that they don't have to be um, a victim of circumstance and that
Mhm.
can take back control, and the way to take back control is by like spreading that love and passing it on.
And
So I think this has been very beneficial to
thank,
just
thank you very
meet
much.
you.
Yeah, I appreciate JeGaysus, and it's just been a delight to visit with you. I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you for all you do.
Awesome. And then to the audience, please go check out his book, The Die, and it's going to be again at rolloflove.com. And if you have any questions, go ahead and make sure to leave comments on the YouTube video, or I guess there's some podcast sites that you can leave comments on, like on Spotify, I think. But however else, you can follow me at JeGaysus pretty much anywhere except for TikTok, which is changing every other day. Who knows what it'll be by the time this episode's out. But if you type in JeGaysus, it'll still flag my past videos. You can find me there. And again, thank you very much to Paul Z for being here and sharing his story and sharing how he's been able to heal some of that past trauma. And for the next episode, I will just have to keep you informed. Again, follow me on YouTube. I will always post updates and times of the next episode airing. Otherwise, I will see you next time with another special guest on Untracing Trauma. Thank you, everyone, and pass on love, spread kindness. Just do that.
Perfect. Thank you.